Still going strongly in the closing minutes. Great one by Kevin McAllister! What a goal that is! Delivery's good, there's Hagan. Now McDrillan, he scored!
It's Stokes on a hat-trick! Goal number 3 for Anthony Stokes!
Ralston saw off Robertson and delivered! Sybil scores! That's the goal! That's the moment! Samuel off and running again. Is it going to be the hat-trick? You know it is.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Welcome along to Falkirk Daft, your unofficial podcast dedicated to everything to do with Falkirk FC and not a tourist thing. So if you are looking to do something in the Falkirk area, this will not mention the Kelpies or the Falkirk Wheel or the Pineapple or anything like that. The Falkirk Daft is about Falkirk Football Club. I just want to point that out, alright? Okay, with that being said, I'm your host John McAnally, and joining me as ever the Ginger God of Pod, Mr. Ross Wayne.
Good evening, sir. We good? Are you rough?
Well, Ross, I am slightly rough today. I do another podcast, which you may not know about. It's called Wrestling Daft. I do that with Grado from Two Doors Down, Scott Squad, Rab Forns from Burniston, and we had our first Wrestling Daft live show in Glasgow yesterday ahead of the big ICW event at the Garage. And I managed to blag a rider for it, Ross. So It was free beer. And I drank far too much of it while doing the show for the second half of the show, because what we did was, because the football was on yesterday and everybody wanted to see the football, we did the first half of the show, then we all watched the football, which watching it with Grado was quite amusing, him being a big Rangers supporter. And then we did the second half, and by the time the second half went on, I was on stage and I was just, Rab actually said to me, "You're just steaming, John." I was just like, "Yep." So it was a good laugh, though, a really, really good laugh. Really enjoyed it. A few people coming up and asking me about Falkirk Daft as well, actually.
Oh, were they?
That's people good came up. There was a couple of Falkirk supporters there, and also they were like, "Is Falkirk Daft a real thing?" They were actually asking me, "Is Falkirk..." They thought I was having a joke about it, but he said, "Aye." There's one of the guys came up and said, "I went on to Spotify and I thought you were just having a laugh." But right enough, there it is, Falkirk Daft. So some good banter. Met a couple of Clyde supporters and stuff as well, and had a right good laugh. So it was very good. So we'll need to do a Falkirk Daft live as long as we can get a venue and someone can provide free beer for us, Ross.
Well, I was just you've nailed it for me with the free beer, to be honest with you, bud. So I'm sure we'll get something in the diary, I'm sure.
Absolutely. How are you?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all. Obviously, Saturday was, in the end, a brilliant afternoon, because it didn't start off that well, as we both know. But by the end of it, absolutely fantastic.
We're going to get into the game against Airdrie, and we're looking forward to getting into that. I wasn't there because I was too busy planning this bloody wrestling show. But it sounds like an absolute belter. Ross, have you ever fallen asleep on the train before and end up at the wrong stop?
I've always woken up in time.
Have you?
I know there's a few stories kicking about. How did this happen to you?
Yes, it did. Of course, last night. It's happened several occasions. I always fall asleep and I always wake up in Stirling. And I'm like, oh no, it happened again last night as well.
At least it's only Stirling though. Can you imagine if you woke up in Perth or Dundee?
I know. So I set my alarm and everything. I don't know what happened. And then I woke up and I went, oh no, that's a KFC. Oh no, I'm in Stirling again. So I had to get a taxi back. 25 quid, by the way, to get back from Stirling train station to Larbert, just in case you're wondering if you ever have to do that. But I'm sure everyone's had that horror story of just waking up and turning up at the wrong stop. It's an absolute nightmare. And plus, you get the last train, there's no way back. So
no, exactly.
What fun. Anyway, what's been happening in the last week? We've got a lot to talk about here at the top of the show, and let's get stuck into it straight away and talk about the AGM. Did you make it along, Ross?
No, I obviously I could have went, but I didn't get a few family things on towards the end of the week, so I struggled to get. But I've obviously seen all the comments and the highlights from it, so yeah, that sounds like it was an interesting night.
It certainly does. In attendance, obviously, board of directors, Gordon Wright, Ken Jameson, John Wright, Keith Gourlay, Nigel Serafini, and then we had Jamie Swinney there, as well as John McGlynn and Paul Smith as well. No point of plans to appoint a chairperson. That was brought up. They think it's working well with just the consensus. And, we asked the guys about that when we had Kenny and Keith on the podcast, and it seems to be working for them,
It does. Yeah, no, it does. And as long as it is working, then let's keep it as it is. Because if it's not broke, and obviously they've all got their wee areas of expertise that they seem to be working on, their pillars as they call it. It sounds like John McGlynn stole the show when he. That was the chat I got from those that were there. John was his usual self, very infectious.
How long did he talk for? Is the question.
Do you know what? That's a good question. I don't know actually, but I can imagine he wasn't asked too many questions for that reason.
No, exactly. Just one question, that's all I need. John actually said we're fairly well equipped for Championship football if we do get promotion this year. And you'll look at that squad and it'll be interesting tested against Ayr in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously a huge game, but I'll be interested to see our squad up against that. And you look at the bottom end of the Championship, and you think, Christ, you'd fancy yourselves against Championship sides. It's certainly the way we're playing it and the players we've got.
Yeah. I think there is definite a base there. I'm sure we would strengthen if we go up as well, and we would strengthen. There's obviously some players in there that he's lost in January, which he wanted to move on. There's probably still some of the current.
There's a couple, yeah.
He might want to move on as well if indeed we're fortunate enough to go up. We saw earlier in the season we gave Partick a good run for the money. Obviously, we beat them that night. Granted, they played about with their team a little bit. Dundee, on the other hand, was slightly different. Both games we got fairly comfortably kind of put away. That's my only nervousness about this Ayr game, because obviously Ayr are up there.
Yeah.
And part of me's thinking, it's Ayr, for God's sake. Why am I worried about Ayr? But the fact is, they're sitting towards the top of the championship and we're not. So we should be... I don't think we'll fear them, but I think it'll be an interesting night.
Yeah, I'd rather I had Inverness, if I'm honest with you. As opposed to I'd fancy us against Inverness, but Ayr is a different kettle of fish, especially that boy they've got up front. We'll talk more about that next week. John also said we're here for the long term. Him and Paul want to play football, and the fans want to come and watch. We have a right good chance of getting promoted this year, hook or crook. We're happy with the squad and ready for extra matches if needed. He also confirmed that Paul Watson, Ryan Williamson are about 2 or 3 weeks away from being back from injury, and Ola is not far behind them as well. So that's good news.
It is good news. Paul Watson, obviously, that's been was that last January?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Lowell, I was going to say Lowell's been missed. He has been missed, but obviously the recruitment we did in January.
New Lappy, we've got the new Lappy, so we don't,
We do, we've got the new wee Russell. He was outstanding when he came on.
We'll get into that, yeah.
But, and obviously Ryan Wilson. So obviously I assume he's striking the next couple of days with the teacher strikes. But it's good to hear he's on his way back. Yeah,
no, absolutely. It'd be good to have him back in the side if indeed he gets. I mean, I'll talk about Blaine Rowe because that boy is unbelievable. But I think Ryan will find it hard to get back into the side. New pitch being confirmed as well. It's been, I think it's a good couple of years past its sell-by date. The pitch. But the great thing is the Department of Digital Culture, Media and Sport are going to fund half of the replacement through a scheme that's running just now. And Jamie himself, Swinney, confirmed on Twitter that I saw that he's going to be the top spec pitch that we're going to bring in, which is great because, I mean, when you look at some surfaces, and you've been on a couple of surfaces, like you look at Livingston, Kilmarnock maybe as well, they don't show up as well as our pitch. I've not heard many complaints about our pitch.
No, I think you're right. It is overdue. It is needing relayed. But I think it's a testament to the fact that we did go for the quality 10 years ago, because it has lasted. Airdrie's on Saturday was pretty brutal looking. It didn't look as if it played that well either. So that's great news. I'm glad we're going, because if you cheap out, then you're not going to do anything. It's just going to hold you back. There's obviously people out there who will critique the fact that you shouldn't have them at all. However, as Jamie said, I think on Twitter as well, let's worry about an artificial surface in the Premiership if and when we get there.
Absolutely. Obviously, the big elephant in the room is this £1.2 million loss that the club have run. Keith addressed that. He said there's no opportunity to be sustainably successful or current model relies on things like poor sales and cup runs. He says, despite the glamour figure, the club has come on leaps and bounds, which we've all seen. Bairns, we'd already beaten last year's turnover and a target to see out the season, despite the projected 400,000 operating loss. Jamie added that, bounced back from the club's lowest point in their history. Of course we did, and focus on the solid business principles. We're running the non-playing staff at its most cost effective. Hospitality's been well sold. I've got to put a shout to the commercial department. Graham and the guys there are doing everything is sponsored. Absolutely everything is sponsored.
Yeah.
And they're doing a cracking job there. They've brought in a lot. Obviously Kieran leaving was a big worry because he brought in a lot of commercial revenue. But it seems like Graham's just taking the baton and ran with it and doing a cracking job.
The two Grahams and Joanne and stuff there, they have done amazing. I think what is it? They said they've got 200 grand worth of sponsorship.
Highest income in 8 years, and
which is amazing.
It's now the biggest income area of the club, which is bringing in more than the football income. So that's great news as well. So it's still worrying. Obviously, sitting when you read that figure, 1.2 million loss, and a lot of football supporters have kind of approached me going, Jesus Christ, 1.2 million. But
it is old though, John. It's historic. That it's not the here and now. Obviously that's what the whole point of an AGM is. Obviously the fact that you can look back and explain.
It doesn't just disappear though, Ross. It doesn't just disappear.
Well, it's covered now. Yeah. It's gone. We don't have like this. We don't have 1.2 million deficit now. Or if anything, the current picture in terms of the bank is far brighter. It's not a gimme that we're forever done, because obviously, as we know, the message from last Thursday was we need to keep getting as much money into the football club as we can to not only just fund the club, but we want to try and keep progressing, try and get as big as best a playing squad for John McGlynn that we can. So to do that, obviously, all the income at all these different streams just needs to keep on going.
And talking of which, this was addressed. There's a new scheme that's been launched by the club called Falkirk Forever, which is a fan donation scheme which will commence in May with all the money going straight into the football budgets. Fans will be asked to join a 12-month-long direct debit plan, which will require a minimum payment with the amount to be decided. By joining Falkirk Forever, those who subscribe will also be able to pay for season tickets on a monthly basis. John Wright said that the fund will sit alongside the Falkirk Support Society, and any fan who's part of the society can also join the new fund. He says more details will come in the next few weeks. Ticket pricing is going to go up. I think that's fair enough. I think we've held on to that price. I've got no issue with that. No. If it's a couple of quid extra or whatever, that's not a problem. Kenny admitted that Falkirk Forever funds come as a direct response to a lukewarm response to fan ownership in general, with the FSS membership being below what the club had anticipated. There's over 600 members now, of course, in the FSS. And it's we've stated and we've spoke to the guys here, the fourth biggest shareholder in the club now. Kenny also added, we made a decision to be brutally honest about our situation. We put a strongly worded in the statement out, which we heard from. We've got 100 FSS sign-ups and 3 new patrons. I think those who did join up, I'm not trying to criticise, but we have to really revisit the appetite for fan ownership and see if it's really there. Nigel Serafini obviously heads up the FSS side of things. The growth curve needs to ramp up. We have 380,000 shares and the fourth largest shareholder in the club currently. But that's decreased in order to be successful. Morton have 950 members, St Mirren have 1,200, and they're hoping to reach beyond that. It will take 4 years to reach our targets. At the moment, we don't have 4 years of time. So that was the statement. Thoughts on this Falkirk Forever scheme, Ross?
So I do think, as I've just said, we need to be inventive. We need to be out there trying to get as much money in as we can. The supporter society, the only thing I didn't like from some of the noises that was coming out Thursday was like words like there's failing and not enough. I
don't like the comparisons that are being made. It's like a competition as well. It's like, well, look at Morton have got this and St Mirren have got that.
Well, and as I think you mentioned just there, John, and I know some of the FSS guys have been talking about it since the AGM, in terms of number of members. That's one thing, but actually the money bring in is something different. So Motherwell, I think, has been quoted as having like 3,000 members, but actually the volume of members that they have is actually, in terms of contributing adults, is a lot smaller than that. So
yeah, I mean, the statistic they put out is the membership may be 18% of theirs, but our contributions are 60% of the total.
Yeah.
And we're just a year old. I mean, that's what you've got to remember. This thing doesn't happen overnight. These other clubs have been doing it for a long time.
They have been going for a lot longer. And to go back in there, John, about the Falkirk Forever. So this is where I can appreciate then where the club situation is, because whilst the Support Society is it's a grower, as they say, not a shower, but they need the money. They need as much money as we can now in the next 6 to 12 months, rather than 24 to 48 months. And I think the Support Society will carry on doing amazing stuff. I think they'll get loads and loads of members as time ticks on. Things like getting to a semi-final, things like promotion will all help these things as well. But I can also see the club side of things, that they do want to get money in. And obviously they're looking at this to do that. My only concern, and I don't think it will it just move people from the Support Society straight to there? I hope it doesn't, but it could.
But why? I mean, this is I think for me, it's almost like pointing the finger at the FSA, like you say, and say this appears to be failing when it's not. It's absolutely not, and that's what this new scheme kind of indicates. I know they need the money in straight away. The other thing I would actually question as well is the direct debit side of things. Okay, if we're having a terrible season, like just say we had a season like we did last season, what's to stop people cancelling their direct debit? What stops that? Going like, well, you know what, I'm done this season. That's me out. Well, obviously the money comes in early on in the season. You get your season ticket sales and bang. I mean, there must be a reason that they want this to come in a monthly reason. But that would be certainly a question I would ask, is that if we're having a terrible season, nothing stops it. I mean, and what are the benefits for the Falkirk? Obviously, the FSS have brought in. They brought in benefits, and we're going to do the draw for it later on, and things like that. But it doesn't seem. I know there's talk about there's going to be I think discount, but I think there might be VAT repercussions and stuff from that as well.
I don't know, John. I think the only thing I would say is I don't think we can critique it too heavily just now, because it's obviously just been a slider to an AGM, right? I think once the detail comes out, we can then dissect it in terms of, and to be fair, as soon as the detail is out, a lot of the people who are contributing through the Support side may go, well, it's fine. I'm not gonna move because there's nothing in it for me. I'll stick to what I'm doing. The money's still going to the club anyway. The difference being what the club are. I think, did I read it right, that this Falkirk Forever is going to go directly to the playing budget? Is that what I've read?
Yeah.
So, which isn't too dissimilar from the old Bairns for Life. Now, people did both then, when those two organisations were there. The other thing we need to think about, John, is say you've got 600 and what I've got the latest spreadsheet because we're going to do the thing. So 646 members, right?
Yeah.
There's obviously 3,500 other people out there. Granted, a lot of them will be kids or unemployed or elderly who maybe can't afford to do it, but there's still going to be a chunk of people out there that currently aren't able or are subscribing through Support Society. So you never know. This could be another alternative for people who, for whatever reason, have maybe been living on the planet Mercury. They don't know about it. So
I mean, but why would you choose? Else. Why would you then choose this Falkirk Forever scheme as opposed to the FSS? Is it just because you don't fancy fan ownership? Is it, what? Why would you choose the?
I suppose there's going to be a few reasons out there, John. There will be a population out there who maybe don't, and for whatever reason, don't want fan ownership or fan run club. You could have people that want to maybe directly invest straight into the playing side, which is fine as well. Or just as I mentioned, you may have people that are just not aware. As much as there's a lot of stuff on social media, the club have been really helpful to the Support Society. We've been really helpful. The Herald have also been very supportive of the Support Society. So, but there might be a population out there who don't actually know. So that's where I would like to see in the summer as well, when the season ticket stuff goes out, a lot more reference to the supporter society as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to if and when the scheme does launch, is speak to Keith or Kenny and get their take on why people, why this is different. And I'd love to get a take from the guys on it and why people should be involved with that as opposed to the FSS. Really interesting notes. So we'll see how that goes over the next couple of months on that. Talking about the FSS, the AGM has been delayed to the 14th of March now because there's a small thing of a quarter-final tie against Ayr to be done on the 13th. They've got 4 new applicants for the committee now, though the committee membership's now closed. We'll find out what happens with the new committee there as well, talking about the FSS. And as ever on Falkirk Daft, we do the monthly draw for the FSS. But before we get into that, just a message again from the FSS. It sounds like some sort of terrorist group, the FSS, the amount of times I keep saying it. Right. But they've got 2 free Lappy tickets, tickets to the Russell Lappy night, which we're obviously going to be at. These will go to whoever can get the most amount of new members signed up to the Falkirk Support Society by the 24th of March. So again, they're maybe reacting to this scheme and they're trying to drive the membership. And this is a great scheme.
Yep, absolutely.
They're doing now. So all you need to do is get your friends to sign up and then get them to DM on socials or email admin@falkirksupporters.org to let us know who referred you. We'll then add a credit to your name, and the member with the most sign-ups to their name will win the tickets. If there's a tie, then we'll decide the winner by means of a random draw. We'll also give a small collection of World Cup memorabilia as a second prize. So there you go. So if like Ross saying, there's someone out there, a Falkirk supporter's not heard of the FSS, this is a great opportunity to get them signed up and also try and win tickets for the Lappy night that we'll be at. So those details again, whoever can get the most amount of new members signed up to the FSS by the 24th of March, get them to DM on our socials or email admin@falkirksupporters.org. Let you know who referred you, and you'll get a credit, and whoever gets the most will win those tickets and potentially those World Cup memorabilia as well.
That's a really good referral scheme. Obviously it's a one-off, but you never know. Maybe there's if it works, there's traction in it. Maybe that's something that between the club and the Sports Society, they could maybe look to make that a permanent referral scheme, which would be great.
Yeah. Right, well, we do the draw then for the Falkirk Supporter Society. This is for everyone that's in the Falkirk Supporter Society. They do it every month. We do the draw on Falkirk Daft to find out who is going to win top prizes and what prizes. I found my glamorous assistant has all the details on the prizes this week. Ross, what can people win if they're a member of the FSS this month?
I do, mate. We've got 4 prizes this month, which is pretty healthy again. In no particular order, we've got a 4-ball, which has been donated by Falkirk Golf Club, so over at the guys over at Carmuir, so that's pretty good. There is a very generous and ongoing prize being donated by Brian Flynn and the team at Behind the Wall, so we've got a Behind the Wall voucher there again this month, which is great. There is the beer bucket from ourselves and the Brockville Bar, which is, as we know, the real reason people want to join. And last but not least, there's 2 places at Boardroom Hospitality, courtesy of the board at Falkirk Football.
Some top prizes in there. 642 members we're at now, Ross.
Let me just triple check that, John. 646.
646. So we'll type that into the random number generator, and let's go for the 4th prize. It's the 4-ball at Carmuir's, yeah?
Golf Club, yeah.
Right, okay. Coming out is 532.
Okay, we have a Dylan McDonald. Dylan McDonald is the winner of the 4-ball.
Hope you're a golfer, Dylan. Next prize up, Ross.
We have the Behind the Wall voucher.
Fabulous. Thanks, Brian. And Brian team do so much for the club. So thank you to Brian for that. And coming out of the hat is number 83. Okay,
let's see who we get here. Number 83 is a Cameron MacArthur. Well done, Cameron.
Cameron, nice meal at Behind the Wall on the way for you. Next prize is the beer bucket, and it's 462.
462. So we have a Mr. Grant Thompson.
Grant Thompson, there you go. I'm assuming it's not the Grant Thompson I know from Radio Clyde. I don't think he's a big...
I wouldn't have thought so.
No. Right, okay then. And finally, this is for the big top prize, the Boardroom Hospitality, and the number is 161.
161. We have I think it's Caelan Williamson, Calen. Caelan Williamson.
There you go, Caelan. Well done. That is the Boardroom Hospitality sorted for you. Fantastic. That'll be a great prize. So thank you again, everyone that has joined up to the FSS. And if you want to be in it, or we've said all the details are on our totals actually in the description. If you want to sign up to the Falkirk Support Society, get all the details below in the description of this show. And you could be in the draw for next month for the big prizes. So thanks very much for everyone that signed up for that. Okay, a couple of shout outs to do. Falkirk 2014s beat Glen Boy 12-2 on Saturday. On you go, boys.
There we go.
Gary Murray let us know about that, so thanks very much for that. Stevie Gibson, Falkirk football fans in training. It was a win after they had a couple of pumpings recently. They beat the Fife Friars 5-3. Is it Fife Friars or Fife Flyers?
Oh, well, you would assume it's the Five Flyers, but it could be maybe the local chip shop.
Maybe I was going to say, if it's football fans in training, maybe it's the Friars.
Could be.
There you go.
Yeah.
So well done to Stevie and the boys in there. They managed to gub them 5-3, so well done. Another victory for Falkirk over Fife, and that's always good. And the Falkirk women, they are in the promotion race. And they went up against the big promotion rivals, West Dyke ladies, and they beat them 1-0. And the pressure now on West Dyke. We've got to play Falkirk again after the league split. So they're well in the promotion race. So well done to the Falkirk ladies. It was Kirsty Gilbert that got the goal against them. So fantastic. Other bits and bobs. Obviously, last week we dedicated this show to Gary Hill. And his family, and it's been brilliant. Willie Lang has arranged a 52nd minute applause on Saturday against Peterhead, Ross.
Yeah, so a lot of Hilly's close friends, and with the blessing of the family, have agreed to a 52nd minute applause this Saturday at the home game versus Peterhead. So lots of noise, lots of cheering, lots of singing for Hilly. I think the message from Will and Coco, he's one of his best mates as well. Just bring flags and noise, whatever you want to bring. Just let's make it a memorable time for the family as well.
Absolutely. I want to hear you cheering as loud as you can that 52nd minute for Hilly on Saturday. Another thing I'd like to point out, Ross, this came up and I saw this, is Lost Football Grounds have done a whole thing. A guy called Norrie Work, who's a football fanatic, football daft. He's done a thing on Brockville as well where he went and did that. So check that out as well. It's really interesting, actually. I really enjoyed watching that. It's on YouTube, Lost Football Grounds, and you can see a whole bit about Brockville on that.
I saw that, and then he finished it with going to the new stadium as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
so that was a brilliant video. So yeah, definitely encourage everybody to go and have a look at that one. We'll pop the link into the description as well.
Absolutely, do that as well. Some club news. Tickets are obviously on sale since we last spoke for the Ayr game, and they're going really, really well, Ross.
They are. I took the opportunity to message Jamie just before we started recording tonight, and because obviously the last update the club put out, I think it was Thursday or Friday, to say that there was 2,000 tickets sold. So the latest is that there's now over 3,000 tickets sold for the home end, which is absolutely amazing, because it was less than a week since they went on sale, and Ayr have sold 300 so far. I'm sure they'll sell more.
Yeah, they'll get 1,000. They'll get 1,000, won't they?
You would think so, but 3,000 home fans already in the stadium for that. Let's get it sold out. The Bairns need it. We need it to try and get there through to Hampden, which would just be absolutely tremendous.
Do you think if there's the opportunity to maybe, go for a stadium sale, I mean, it depends on ticket sales, like you say, Ross, but maybe actually depending on how much Ayer's taking back the bit of the North Stand, or do you think Poison will go against that?
No, I don't think you wouldn't think there would be a problem doing that unless they've made it allocated seating for Ayr, which you would think they could get round. If their sales weren't strong enough and ours were, you can split the North Stand. So it is doable. Whether the police would be happy, I don't know. I must admit, And I would love it if we did sell out, but there's 6,000 home seats, which would be fantastic if we did. I had my reservations when I saw. Obviously, we knew the game was going to be on TV, but when it was picked for BBC, which is obviously free for everyone,
Yeah.
I did wonder what the crowd might be. But on the way it's going, there could well be 5,000 to 6,000 Falkirk fans in the ground, which would be amazing.
Well, fingers crossed for that. Some message from the Junior Bears talking about the Air game is basically, yes, who are a great sponsor of the club and a great sponsor of actually sport around the Falkirk area. They've got 11 Junior Bears mascots walking out with them, and lucky winners will be drawn out of the hat from David from Yes. So, yeah, there's going to be 11 Junior
I like
Bears
that.
walking out for the Air games, which
Yeah,
is
it's a
great.
bit
So,
Champions League style in it for the TV.
love it,
I like that.
love it. So you'll be contacted if you are a winner as well. So there you go. That's from Sarah Scott and all the team. At
Take it
Junior
you're just
Bears.
outside the age range for that, though, John.
I've said before, adult
Yeah.
mascots is the way ahead, hand in hand with Big Col Donaldson walking out. I would think that'd be a beautiful moment, an absolute beautiful moment. Who's
do.
that big guy with holding hands with Col Donaldson? I want to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen. Listen, brilliant stuff. A lot of stuff to talk about at the start of the show, but let's talk about the main event now. And it was Airdrie on Saturday, and every week on Falkirk Daft, I'd like to get on a guest pundit to help us dissect the match. And this week is no different. We're going to welcome to the show. It's Ian.
How you doing, buddy? You okay?
Hi. Doing well, thanks, guys, especially after Saturday.
Oh, I bet you are. On Twitter, Ian, you are known as Homer's twin. Why is that? Because you do not look like Homer Simpson.
Oh, well, maybe I used to. I lost a bit of weight and so on. It was an old joke, and you're going back to 2009, so I couldn't recall why it was, but that was. I used to perhaps have a bit more of a gut than I do now, and I still have the liking for beer, though.
But we all do. We all do. You don't sound like you're from the Falkirk area, Ian.
No, I was born in Hertfordshire, but I've lived in Falkirk since 1995. So
Was it work or a woman that brought you here, Ian?
work first of all, and then a woman. Although she's Irish, so neither of us are. All our kids are Bairns, though. So they're
Oh,
and they're all
fantastic.
supporters.
And how long have you supported Falkirk for then, since you moved up here?
Yeah, since I moved to Falkirk, it's all Stephen Hall's fault. I was working with him, and he got me along to a few games. So and I took to it. I watched a lot of non-league when I was living in England.
You'd be used to our
Derby.
standard then.
But it was great, and I do remember the old Brockville days. This house here, actually, we look out onto the car park at Morrison's.
Right, okay.
So, and I've got a painting. Derek Steele had that print done.
Yeah.
Of a night game against Dunfermline. I've got that up on my wall, and then out the window I can see the tower at Morrison's, which is roughly where that stand was. So,
Of course.
Amazing.
I always wanted to live round that way. And I remember, I'm going to digress here. I remember when I was first house hunting with my Gillian would have been my fiance at the time. And a house came up, and it was round the corner from Brockville. I think it might have been Watson Street. It was one of obviously the older style, and it needed a hell of a lot of work to it. And Gillian's going, I think this is too much work, and I'm going, no. This is just a wee fixer upper, and it wasn't at all. It was like honestly, it needed so much work, and I was desperate to live beside Brockville. Absolutely.
That'd be amazing. Who's your favourite player then during your time watching Falkirk, Ian?
well, excluding the obvious ones, because Latapy really impressed me when I was first watching.
So, okay, we've got a new Latapy now, so we're all right.
Yeah. He was good on Saturday as well. But I think just because he's a top bloke, is Will Volks. I think he did tremendous things. He came up, he put himself on the line by just taking expenses, and then he was brilliant for us. And if you ever meet him, he's a top guy as well. So a lot of affection for those days, and just that whole team was a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's get into the match. You were both there on Saturday. Unfortunately, I was not. Airdrie 1, Falkirk 3, 2 goals from Kai Kennedy, goal for Gary Oliver. Fantastic stuff. Changes from last week. We had Brian Kinnears coming in to start, and Liam Henderson was able to play, which is great. He was able to soldier on. I believe he was wearing some sort of protection to his rib to allow him to play. So fan-bloody-tastic. But to start with, not so much. It was the usual start against Airdrie Ross.
It was, and after about 10-15 minutes, I kind of feared the worst again, if I'm being honest, John. We didn't get going, and every single pass was just falling straight to them. We weren't winning any second balls, and lo and behold, they score. It did look offside at the time.
Loopy on the commentary was absolutely 100% convinced it was offside.
Yeah, it looked at the time as well. It did. Very tight, so I can't really blame the officials for that. I'll blame them for almost everything else in the game, but not that. But yeah, I'm just so delighted to get through 3 points, because when was the last time we beat Airdrie?
Exactly.
So
yeah, definitely, Ian. The things that are guaranteed in life. I saw someone tweet that: deaths, taxis, and Callum Gallagher scoring against Falkirk. It was a decent finish from him, to be fair.
It was. I thought it was. I was a bit worried at that point because Kinnear had come in, and he said himself he probably could have done a bit better. But actually, I just think it was a decent chance, well taken. And as the game went on, actually, Kinnear proved himself as the right choice. I think my man of the match, certainly. But I thought at the start, I just think they decided to have a go at us. They were going to press, they were going to work hard, and probably worked in our favour as the whole of the match, because I think they wore themselves out. I mean, we noticed Kennedy coming down, and we kept on putting the ball into him, and he kept on losing it. He wasn't in space. And a few people around me were going, "Oh, he's not having a great game." Obviously, later on, he proved that wrong as well. But I did notice as we clawed our way back in that he swapped sides a couple of times, and he was having much more joy down the other side. So obviously, McGlynn was making the odd in-game change there, and when we did get the equaliser, I thought it was coming, because I mean Henderson had that great chance, which looking back at the highlights, you actually noticed the ball bobbles on the way into on the way going wide. So I think that was for me was probably not a miss, but the pitch was truly dreadful.
Yeah, was. We talked about that at the start, didn't we, John? The pitch wasn't the best, and we're hoping Falkirk, when they do replace it in the summer, is of a far better quality. I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, I mean, that Liam Henderson, that'd have been some goal, because I counted the amount of passes and they're up to that goal. It was about 14 passes, and then obviously Henderson. There's a goal coming for him. There's a goal. I mean, we saw the header against Darvel, but I think there's a really cracking goal coming from Liam Henderson at some point. He's made such a big difference in that midfield. He's been great. Yes. On there to the equaliser, Callum Morrison. Gary Oliver loves that kind of goal, doesn't he? There's been a few in the last couple of weeks. That just ball from Morrison, glancing header. We saw it against Edinburgh. He's had a few like that. I think was it against Alloa as well. He had a very similar chance like that. Loves a wee glancing header, but it was a great equaliser, a great ball from Callum Morrison, who's just on absolute fire at the moment.
He is. He's dynamite just now, John. His distribution was just out of this world on Saturday. I agree with Ian. I think they had joy where they were, especially in the first half, when they were cutting across and changing sides, because it did make a big difference, especially for Kai. But the ball in was tremendous. Lovely header from Gary Oliver. I don't know if Gary Oliver had his best game up to that point. For me, I don't know about what Ian was thinking, but I was thinking, give it 5 minutes, he might be off today, as in the 5 minutes into the second half. But what a header, and he just kind of finished the rest of that half, and he started the second half really well after that as well.
Yeah. Airdrie then go on to get a penalty And at that point, I think, oh God, it was because, I mean, we scored right, 43rd minute, and then you think, or 42nd minute, and then we thought, let's just see out to half time. Airdrie go and get a penalty. Any complaints with the decision? No, shaking heads, yeah. Leon McCann just caught out. And it seems that they target McCann there. They like to. I noticed that is in a few games. Obviously, he's been a former player there, but they seem to put a target on McCann when we're playing against them.
No, I think they do. I think they do, John. I don't think he had a bad game, but it was a pen, and he did trip him. And he looked absolutely gutted at the time, didn't he, Ian?
Yes, yeah, I think so. I mean, he gave one away against Dundee, although from behind, I don't think it was. But that's a second one I can remember in fairly recent times. So yeah, he does have that in him, unfortunately. But
it was absolutely, I mean, what a cheer went up. Big Kinnear, he said he felt he was at fault for the first goal, but good save from his legs. I mean, Charlie Telfer went right down the middle, as a lot of players seem to do, and he just managed to catch it with his legs, and great save. And and I will look back and see how important that save could be. And he went on again in the second half to have that double save to keep it 2-1 as well. Impressed by Brian Kinnear. I mean, it looks like PJ was dropped for tactical reasons. Had John McGlynn talking that his confidence wasn't the best. I mean, we have seen PJ have a couple of mistakes, especially from his feet. How impressed were you with Big Brian in the goal, Ross?
I was very impressed. I actually didn't think he was too at fault for the goal. I thought the defence were sleeping a little bit, especially in that first 10-15 minutes. Some really, really slack passing. It was really, really bad. Mackie, especially, if I'm being honest, in terms of that side of things. But what a save. I thought, did you see the Airdrie Twitter account had said, they never said what it saved. They said, oh, he blocked it. Well, that's a save then, isn't it? It's ridiculous. But brilliant save. Volleyed away. I think it might have left. The volley away must have left the stadium. I don't know who got rid of that. Mackie, maybe. But yeah, fantastic save. And as you said, I know we'll come on to the second half in a second, but the double save in the second half at 2-1, I think it was as big as anything else that happened in the game.
Yeah, I agree with that, Ian. Just impressed by
I thought he was outstanding. The double save was tremendous. But saving that penalty, that was a real turning point, and that sort of Indian sign they've had over us, you could feel it lifting. Some of these things are sometimes about confidence, like we don't believe we can beat them. I think at that point, I think it did us the power of good. And did them the power of harm, thankfully.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge saves, that double save as well. Before that, though, we had a couple of things to talk about. Big handball shout yet again in the box from Rhys McCabe. Yet again, no penalty given. And today's referee, or Saturday's referee, just so we know who we're talking about, Greg Aitken. There you go, another one for the Shit Academy. Big handball shout yet again. And wee Max, who does the Falkirk vlog, says that's been exactly a year since we've been awarded a penalty in the league. Unbelievable. And that was against East Fife. And Lee Griffiths scored. So there you go, that's how long ago it is since we had a penalty.
John, it was a stonewaller for me. He didn't. His hand did move, and it wasn't in a natural position, as they like to call it now. And that was kind of, for me, that was kind of confirmed in the highlights. But once again, and the ref had a fantastic view of it. Like, he really was so close. And how he's not given that. But then I'm saying how he's not given that, I'll never know. But there was a lot of decisions on Saturday that were just mind-boggling. Like, and you think the ref can't be as bad as the week before, but actually they seem to just be getting worse and worse and worse.
Oh, what have you made the refs over this season, Ian?
Absolute total murder. I've actually started on the highlights and so on, started watching a little bit of the rest because I think it's so bad. And the observation I'd make is, and particularly on Saturday, that guy, he looked well off the pace. He looked unfit. But you look at the positioning of them. The positioning is generally poor.
Yeah.
That they're not keeping up with play. they're often guessing. On that incident, he did put his arms down as if, oh, no, the arms weren't raised. But several times I noticed he wasn't actually looking at play. Yeah. And it's concerning because I think it spoils the game. And there are ways to deal with it. Recruit younger, fitter, sharper refs. Give them proper feedback. Give them proper training. These guys take a wage. They take an appearance fee, and for me, it's not acceptable that it's allowed to drift as it has.
And do you know the thing is though, it's not even as if they're not observed. Even at League One, there's still an SFA observer there. Like, what do they actually write about? And do you know what I mean? In the report, surely they can't think that these guys are doing a great job.
No, I mean, it's bad when the best ref we've had this season has been Willie Collum against Darwell. You know what I mean? That's tells the whole story right there. But we didn't need that penalty anyway because we had another fantastic bit of work from Cole Donaldson. Great ball out to Morrison on the right hand side, and another assist from Cal as well. He'll be catching up with Aidan soon enough, and that's him now on 6 assists. Aidan's on 10, but great ball in. Kai Kennedy, like you say, Ian, just drifted over into the middle and in the right place at the right time. So happy with
lovely, well hit ball. It's and those of us saying that perhaps he wasn't having his best game and should we try something different were completely wrong. I'm often completely wrong, though. So,
I'll be honest, I'll hold my hand up. I've been quite critical of Kai Kennedy in the last couple of weeks. I don't think he's been in top form. When we were talking on the show last week about maybe someone like Norman Burrell could come in and play on that left-hand side. I don't think, when you see the link-up between Morrison and Rowe on that right-hand side now, I don't think it's as strong between McCann and Kai Kennedy on the left-hand side. But it's... He got his 2 goals, and you can't complain about that at all. I mean, like you say, right place in the right time for the first one. The second one, is which comes after that amazing double save. Great work from Gary Oliver yet again. Ross thought he was having a poor game. He just keeps proving us wrong. And I've seen a few Focus Sports. I saw James, who was who's been on this show as well, came out and had an open apology to Gary Oliver. Great, a great assist for the second, and that's him on 6 goals to the season now as well, Ross. So, I mean, Kai Kennedy again, great, finish from him. Oliver will put on a plate for him.
He did. No, listen, just really, really brilliant teamwork. It's more so in the second half, probably the last 20 minutes of the first half as well. But I don't know about Ian, but I just felt, see, as soon as we scored that first one, I didn't think anyone else was winning it. Oh, actually, probably from the penalty save, because obviously up till that, you had that and you're like, oh, here we go again. But from that penalty save, I didn't think anyone else was winning that on Saturday, because
the big double save as well. You've got to pitch out for Brian, Big Brian, for that as well.
He did, but because we were 2-1 up at that point, John, I didn't think we wouldn't go on. But right. It was a really important. You're right, though. It was a massive double save, and had it went in, you do wonder, would our confidence of taking a knock? They had a really poor home crowd there again, but would their crowd have been kind of billing them up again? But massive win on Saturday.
Talk to me, Ian, about Blaine Rowe. Again, from the highlights, looked like another crack. He took that one in the face at one point as well, but it looked like he had a crack. Do you know he's a model, by the way?
Is he?
Aye, he's signed up for a modelling agency, Next Models. I checked this out, so he took that one in the face. God, there goes your modelling career, son.
What were you Googling there, John?
No, I didn't.
But... Models from Coventry or something.
But have you been as impressed by Blaine Rowe as I have? I think he's been brilliant, Ian. But what's your thoughts on him?
Yes, he brings enthusiasm, he brings drive, he can defend, and he can get the ball forward. I think he's been unlucky not to score actually on a couple of occasions. He's done very well for us. Think about what we had there before, or didn't most of the time when he was injured. But to have a right back with that kind of with those qualities I think is one of the principal reasons we've improved as we have, and I think he's added to that because I think overall it's the attitude of the team. We're coming back towards a team that's thinking, hey, even if we go behind, we can go on and we're not beat. We can win the game, and a little bit more confidence that we get attacked down that side. Actually, we will defend it properly, and we can break forward quickly with him because he's got a reasonable turn of pace there as well.
He's got some drive on him. He's just got a real drive. A real tenacity about him. I've been so impressed with him. That cheeky wee nutmeg as well was beautiful. Talk about loan players. Ross, your new boyfriend, the new Latape, came off the bench and looked again some lovely touches from what I saw in the highlights.
He just adds energy, drive, a brilliant eye for a pass. He puts himself in as well. Like he doesn't shirk out a challenge, and for a lad who's not the biggest, and I mean in terms of his frame rather than his height. He very rarely loses a battle. In fact, again on Saturday, I don't think he lost the ball. There was one moment where he over kind of knocked it forward weirdly because his close control is usually pretty tight from what we've seen so far, but he knocked it in front of him, but then he won it back even though he was under pressure. So and yeah, John, I know you had made a point of saying having a go when I mentioned Latape. Not so much in terms of his overall play, but in terms of how he controls the ball, I think he's got something special there. It might sound controversial, but I would play him instead of Stephen McGinn on Saturday.
I was going to ask that question. Ian, do you think McGinn's position's slightly under threat with wee Max coming off the bench and performing so well? Or do you keep him in for
well, I can only say yes. I think that the point is, if you get to McGinn's age and experience, I think beginning of the season he was incredible. Yeah. I think that there has definitely been. He settled down. He's still a very important player. That experience and marshalling the midfield, but you do feel at times there's the odd mistake and so on. And I wonder whether perhaps it's a bit much for us to be expecting 90 minutes out of him week in, week out. And I think Max starting against a few of the up-and-coming teams, or perhaps Peterhead's a different one, but maybe when we go and play Dunfermline, I think he starting, he's going to give teams something really to think about and might stop. Sometimes still now, our midfield gets overwhelmed and doesn't dig in. I think back to the Alloa away game, when that was basically, I thought, the problem. We were being overwhelmed, and I think with his tenacity, his ability to hold on to the ball, to win those battles, he could be an important player there. McGlynn knows what he's doing. He'll build him up towards actually starting, but I don't think that can be far away.
I guess, I mean, we go back to the old adage, not changing that one inside as we've seen, because we've got so many options now on the bench. I mean, when Jordan Allen isn't really getting a sniff, Roman Burrell didn't come off the bench there. We've still got Lawal to come back into the side. It'll be interesting to see what he does with wee Max, because he's certainly impressed in what he's done. If he does replace, who gets captaincy, Ross?
Well, when he went off on Saturday, he gave it to Big Call.
Big Call, so, yeah.
I would assume it would be Big Call. And let's face it, he looks like a captain. He talks like a captain as well, doesn't he, Big Call? So, I would assume so.
Start against Peterhead. We'll get into that.
I personally would start him. Whether he will or not, I don't know, because obviously, as we know, John likes to keep the winning team. But part of my thing wasn't to drop Stephen McGinn, because I think Ian's right. Stephen McGinn's been a huge player for us this year, but can he play 90 minutes week in, week out in midweek games as well? I'm not sure. So I would start Max on Saturday with Tuesday in mind.
Right. Okay. That'll be interesting. I will see what happens at the weekend. So that was the second win, only the second win in 14 games against Airdrie, by the way. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous record. Thanks to Lewis for pointing out that one. Let's hear from the manager as he's caught up with Lewis after the game.
John, how big a win is that today? I think it's a very big win. You know, I think this is a very hard place to come. We think Airdrie are a really, really good team, and it was a really good game. You know, it was a competitive game, as you would expect. I'm delighted, obviously, with the way we've come through the game. I thought I think they scored in the 10th minute, so I think the opening 10 minute was very much we attack, you attack, we attack, you attack, and then obviously they got the goal. And I think that kind of settled them a little bit, like the last time we played here. They really kicked on after that a little bit, and we had to ride the storm, and Brian and goal did quite well on one or two occasions, and we had to defend. I thought it was a poor goal from our point of view to lose, just a ball over the top. We didn't defend it very well, which was disappointing the way that we did defend it. But the players showed great character the last 20 minutes of the first half. I thought we then got a right good grip of the game. I thought we created opportunities. Liam Henderson went quite close with a ball that he took really, really well. It was probably our best move in the game at that point. Some good passing. He's taken a good touch inside the box and played across the face of the goal into the far corner, but it just went by. And you could see we were getting a little bit of a grip of the game. And lo and behold, you know, we get that goal back. Great Bobby Callum, great header with Gary Oliver, and it's level. And obviously there's only 2 or 3 minutes to half time. And again, we don't defend particularly well, and we concede a penalty. So thankfully, Big Brian managed to spare himself and save it with his feet. Speaking about Brian, I thought he was terrific today. I thought he had a great game, great debut for him. And then the second half, I thought that we controlled the second half. Again, Brian probably had to make 1 or 2 saves, but I thought overall, you know, they thoroughly deserved the victory. Cole actually plays a really good ball back out. It's a corner kick, it breaks out. Cole plays it out wide, and then the ball comes in, and Kai's managed to sneak in front and get a good touch on it. Gets us 2-1 in front, and Airdrie's going to try and get a goal back. We were dangerous on the counter attack. And one of these attacks, you know, we've had a couple of chances. Callum's been involved in it, Nizzy's been involved in it, and it finally breaks for Kai, who you know, sticks it away. 3-1. And yeah, of course, yeah, Airdrie's going to try and get back in the game. But we were very, very dangerous in the counter attack, and we could have scored 1 or 2 more. So we're absolutely delighted, because this was a big game. I was here just a matter of 2-3 weeks ago when Dunfermline were here in the 4-3 game, and Airdrie were 3-0 up, and deservedly so. The game all changed on a sending off, and so we knew this was going to be tough. You know, we knew it was going to be tough. They're a right good football team, but I think today we've also showed that we're a right good football team, and I'm delighted with every single one of our players. The attitude, the determination, the ability. Absolutely delighted.
2 minutes 57 on McGunn Watch this week, so he's tightening it up. But yeah, he said everything that we've really discussed on the show. Just seems to be, I mean, the confidence in the team at the moment and the work that the team are giving him is just unbelievable. Ross, we've got a song from McGunn now, haven't we? What's it? He's the reason.
Yeah, no, big shout out to the I was going to say the young lads, but some of them are probably not as young now, but the Shuttle lads who came up with this. Yeah, it's to the tune of well, it's the Oasis song, isn't it? So he's the reason we'll be championship next season. He's got the Bairns believing. It's John McGlynn. Amazing. Love it.
Love it. Yeah. And is there a song for Blaine Rowe as well from the Disco Land, I believe, Flippin' Falls Disco Land, which Jerry Cinnamon regularly covers?
Yeah, that came out on Saturday. We heard that. I didn't make it out at first, but the more it got done, yeah, you recognise the tune. Brilliant, because Blaine Rowe, as we just mentioned, deserves it. He's slowly becoming a fan's favourite. He really is with his consistent performances. Absolutely.
So I think we can safely say that's Airdrie now out of any kind of title races. I don't think they were. You know, I think they've kind of settled in playoffs anyway, but I mean, it's a 2-horse race now. Leaves us 5 points as it was. I mean, Dunfermline went down to Queen of the South, and obviously I thought that might have been a troublesome place for them to go, but they walked away 2-0 winners there, and they certainly would have been looking at our score as well, because it's just like whoever slips up first here, it's either game on back for the title, or if we slip, you know, it's their title to
you know, John, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I genuinely think if, assuming we beat Peterhead, and I really, really hope we do, because it's the bottom team, so you'd hope we'd be able to go and do that, right? But an Alloa win at East End Park on Saturday, and then we could go top on the Tuesday.
Oh,
yeah.
the things
Honestly,
dreams are made of. Things are made of. I mean Airdrie are obviously now, that leaves. I mean, I think we can pretty much safely say that's definitely in the playoffs now. In previous seasons, it's not been the case, but that's now 9 points, the difference between us and Edinburgh, who have got themselves back in there now, and it does look like it's going to be a three-way battle for those final two playoff places between Edinburgh, Alloa and Airdrie as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, both we've obviously played all three of those teams recently. Who do you think is best placed to finish in those final two places? I thought Edinburgh were done, and
I thought they were as well. I'd rather Edinburgh made the playoffs. So if we're in the playoffs,
I'd rather Edinburgh and Alloa. See if it's Edinburgh and Alloa.
Yeah,
absolutely. I would be delighted with that, because, as I just said, 2-1 against Airdrie in 14. Alloa and Edinburgh would be ideal. So come on, Edinburgh, come on, the Alloa, because if it's going to be the playoffs, that's the two teams.
Can you imagine the ticket scramble for Edinburgh away?
Oh, Jesus.
In a playoff.
God almighty, I know. We will see what happens there, though. Anyway, we've got to concentrate on our own game. Let's check out what you guys were saying about the game on Saturday. Let's kick off from John. Excellent performance. Keeper Henderson and Morrison outstanding. Only a small moan, but Burrell should be getting a game time. Big games coming up now. Yeah, it's strange that he's kind of going for Wright off the bench as opposed to Burrell. I guess Burrell, Matt Wright offers you kind of a bit of physicality. Burrell maybe offers a wee bit something different in terms of his running off the ball. But yeah, Burrell's not really had a look in, despite I'm going to that wee rich vein of form of scoring goals from the bench.
I don't know what Ian felt. I thought Wright, he put himself about again on Saturday. He is physical, but he's finishing. That's
a big chance
bounce now where he's missed an open goal. So will he get another chance? I don't know. I think McGlynn, because you saw McGlynn looked exasperated with the fact he didn't score from that position. So you do wonder if maybe Burrell could make his way back into the sub appearance, if that makes sense. Yeah,
I mean, Jordan Allen's sitting there as well, twiddling his thumbs as well, so he'd be desperate to get game time. So that was John. What I think this might actually be Ian's comment here.
Let's have a look. So yeah, Ian, you'll smile if this is you. So overcame a motivated, decent Airdrie side, and the befuddled, useless old man ref who gave them everything. Kinnear was man of the match for me, really good. Mackey worried me at times. He did me as well. Hope Mackay is fit again soon. Can you imagine us saying that 6 months ago? Straightforward win, fine result.
That is you, Ian, yeah.
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 That's me. I'll stand by it.
Stand back. Well, we all know who's getting Falkirk Daft rated from Ian already. That's a spoiler alert. Drew, huge result and performance. Could have been more. Should have given us confidence we can win any games. That's the hardest game outside the Pars. Can definitely go win the league. Come on, ye Bairns. I mean, it did, like you say, Ross, when we got the two, it could have been, there was some big chances later on. Morrison, like you said, Wright had that chance as well. It could have been 4-5 again.
Yeah, Jordan Allen towards the end, he could have and probably should have squared it to McGuffey. And I get it, he's a striker, he wants to score goals, but it was a bit weak and a bit lazy. It looked from where we were sitting. But if he'd squared it, I think McGuffey would have finished that, I would say.
Yeah.
Barry says, great 3 points. Penalty save changed the game, and we should have scored a few more goals than we did. The most disconcerting thing about today was the amount of different pronunciations of the name Kinnear by Lewis.
I did notice this. Lewis kept flip-flopping on the... I'm thinking it's Kinnear. I think he went Kinnear at one point, and then he was flip-flop. We'll go with Kinnear, though. Big Brian yeah. Kinnear. It's like my Row situation, and we're now calling him Blaine Row the boat. So yeah, Doogie, another hoodoo buried. The Navy Blue charge continues. Keeper outstanding on his debut, rescued his defence a few times. Could maybe and should have had a few more. Rest a few for Peterhead, and then 2 massive games against Pars and Ayr.
Don't know if I'd be resting too many. I think there's method in the McGinn chat, because I think Ian's right. I don't think he's got 90 minutes in him in a few days, but I don't know if it'd be resting other players because I think that's a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, we have got options there though. We definitely have,
do,
like, with
yeah.
striking options certainly. You could. I mean, you wouldn't want to, just the way Morrison's playing. Do you rest Morrison? Hopefully, you can save him for Dunfermline, or
Well, the trouble is, we tried that. Remember that night
that's
through
right.
Alloa, and
Uh-huh.
it was horrible. So let's not do that again. Let's just
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
It
Right.
really did stuff that game up. I have to
it
say.
did.
Yeah.
No, it did. It was awful. Peter says, "What a day! Not a brilliant performance, but really gutsy. Top performances from Blaine Rowe, Gary Oliver, and Morrison, but obvious standout was the goalkeeper. Absolutely stunning. Really, big shout out to most of the team. Difficult game. We stood up, got stuck in. Great support as well. Come on, the Bairns."
Yeah, it was a big support turnout for it as well. You can see my background if you're watching the YouTube version. Great support as ever from Falkirk. Grant didn't get off to a great start, but thoroughly deserved the win, but showed great character and should have won by a few more. Good to see my missus, uncle, nephew start and goal. My missus, uncle's nephew. Fuck it. Right, okay.
Yeah, that's a link in it.
10 years scrap, but I like it. Mrs. Uncle's nephew. So there we go. Started and go. What a game he had. Let's keep the pressure up on that lot across the fourth and win next week.
Oof, which would be amazing. Mark says we were far the better team for 90 minutes and fully deserved a win. Glad to finally get a win against that mob. Officials were once again shocking. Wee Max was excellent again and should be starting next week's, in my opinion. Can't understand why Burrow wasn't brought on again. However, come on, you Bairns.
Yeah, and Bill finishes a couple of finishes off. Bill falling in love with this squad. First time I felt this way about a group of players since the Houston playoff years. It goes without saying the officials were rank. And Ewan finished up. Brian Kinnear. That's all. There we go. It's what Bill's saying. Is the squad of players and the way we play the football and stuff. It just the last couple of teams, the last couple of seasons. The last 4 or 5 years actually, you've not had that connection to the team, and you can see it in the support that's travelling to Airdrie. You can see it in the support at the Falkirk Stadium. It's just the connection. It's not. I don't think it's just because we're winning and we've went on this fantastic run of unbeaten run. It's just I think there's a real connection. You can see what's happening in the park. The style of football we're playing on the park is why we've identified something that we haven't had in previous seasons is an identity of football. It's always been chop change. We've now got a consistent team on that park. The 11, like we've said, it's generally picking itself now. And with that, there's more connection to the players. I totally get that falling in love with the team statement from Bill, because I think we all are.
Yeah, there's definitely a connection there. You felt it, not just through the games, but at the end of these games as well. There is that connection there between the fans and the players. You feel it. The players are more involved. When was the last time the players were, like in the last few years, the players barely came across to the fans. Not just, I don't just mean at the end of the games, but even when they scored, they weren't even like celebrating with the fans. That's not the case now.
Yeah, absolutely right. Falkirk Daft rated, first of all, from Airdrie. Who are we thinking? Well, I think we'll come to Ian first, because I think we know who's going to choose.
Well, Kinnear, I think.
Or is that Kinnear?
Who knows?
Right, Kinnear, Ross.
Snap. Yep. No, double save and the pen save. Couldn't be anyone else.
There we go. Falkirk Dafty. Do we have a Dafty of the week? Ross.
I'm going to go with Sean Mackey. He finished the game better than he started, but overall, I was really annoyed with him on Saturday. He gave was really, really poor, and he just made some silly decisions. And I wanted Sean Mackey back from the start of the season, that just lumped the ball as far away from the defence as possible, and he made sensible passes. That's what I want back.
Right, Ian.
I have to say exactly the same.
Right.
Talking to fans around me who were saying, "Oh, Mackey's looking a bit of the weak link," said exactly what Ross said. I want the Sean Mackey played against Hibs, because that was tremendous what he did that day. So it showed what he can do. I'm hoping, because he's getting the run in the side, that he will start to find his feet again. But he was probably the weak link on Saturday.
Does Big Bad Brad come in against Peterhead to get him warmed up again for the game against Dunfermline, because I think his physical presence against Dunfermline, certainly his threat from set pieces, could be really important.
That's a good shout, John. That could be a change that he makes for Saturday. Because I don't think he would throw him in cold to Dunfermline.
No,
having not played him. So that's a strong shout. Yeah, that could be a change.
Yeah, Ian.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you can't just pick it. It's going to be a big game. We need people who've been playing, are ready, and let's have a good game against Peterhead, and then McGlynn has to pick you, doesn't he? So that's the thing. Stake their place on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, there you go then. That's Airdrie done. Thank goodness. We've got to play them once more as well, haven't we, at the Falkirk Stadium? So hopefully we've ended the hoodoo now, and that's that monkey off our back now when we play them again. But I'll reiterate, I think, and we spoke to Andrew last week, I think they're definitely the best footballing, out with Falkirk, they're the best footballing side in the league. So, you've got some players that you think, like Callum Gallagher is certainly one I wouldn't mind having at Falkirk, that's for sure. Scores against us all the time.
Well, maybe he fancies a wee change in the summer, going up a league, maybe.
maybe. Ian, thanks so much for being our guest pundit this week. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for having me on.
And
Great.
If you want to be a guest pundit on the show, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a DM on Twitter, Facebook, or you can email us falkirkdaftpod@gmail.com.
This is Falkirk Daft.
The big question is back. We've not done it in ages, Ross, but in the last 5 seasons, we've been through some of our players, probably about 1,386 precisely. So I thought...
Have you worked it out, have you?
Pretty much. I thought we'd have a Falkirk Daft stock check, right? So I put out on Twitter, I think we'll do this over a couple of weeks, I put up, just name a random Falkirk player, which we might have forgotten about.
Uh-huh.
And everyone got involved in their absolute masses. So Ross, don't look at the bit of paper in front of you, right? Because I am going to give you, the player. I want you to tell me who signed them and what position they played. All right.
Right. I'll try my.
Right. Okay. So these are all names that have come in. We're going to kick off the random Falkirk players with Mark Waddington. Remember Big Mark?
I do. So I associate people with strips. So I think that was the steeple one. So I'm going to say Hartley. In terms of position, he was a midfielder, but I don't know much more than that. I can't remember.
I remember he
scored against Alloa. I remember a goal against Alloa.
Can you remember who he was on loan from?
Oh, this is a guess. I'm going to say Stoke.
Well played, my man. That is well. Yep, spot on. Now playing for Warrington. So Waddington is at Warrington now. There you go. Look at that. I actually thought Mark Waddington was all right. I thought
it was. As I say, I remember a goal against Alloa through the Rex. One game, but that's about it. I can't think of much more about him.
Right. Okay. Next player up, Ross. This comes from Gary Scott Higgins.
Wow. Yeah. So Inverness springs to mind. Obviously, he had that horrible game up at Inverness. I can't remember. He was Australian, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I think one of the. I don't think we've had many Australians play for us, but one of the few. Big Danny McBreen, obviously.
Big Danny McBreen was I can't think of another one.
Huge though. Remember how big he was? He was like 6'7" or something like that.
Yeah, he was a good. That was his only attribute that was helpful for being a keeper, though, because he was awful at everything else.
Well, there you go. Went on to play for Maccabi Herzliya, Adelaide, Wellington Phoenix and Gold Coast United, and at the age of 46 he's now retired in 2011. There we go. Right, okay, you'll remember this one because it was our first foreign signing, Sabatino Damasis.
Yes, he's 6 minutes. The wee Italian midfielder. Didn't look Italian actually, because he was bald, wasn't he? He was balding.
Who signed him?
Oh.
Was it Jeffries? Wasn't Jeffries.
No.
Was it Eamon Bannon?
Eamon Bannon. It must have been because
it was the checker.
Yeah. It was the checker shirt in the summer. So yeah, Eamon Bannon.
Do you know what? I've just checked Sab's player profile here, and his time at Falkirk doesn't even pop up on it. There you go.
It was that brief.
It was that brief.
Although he got longer than Denzel Theobald. So
Oh, there's a name. Right, Cedric, your ass. Big Cedric.
Big Cedric. So that's
Position.
obviously that's a Yogi signing.
Yeah.
Centre half. Yes.
I love Big Cedric. French centre half. We've not had many of them. He was good, Cedric, your ass.
I thought he was all right. Yeah.
Yeah. He did all right. And just looking at what happened to the rest of his career, played for Litex, Lovek, and Agiacio and Gwengolian. There you go. He's now 45 years old. There you go. But yeah, only 9 games for us. I thought he played more than that, but there you go.
I would have thought he would. Aye, that shocks me. He was obviously a January signing, but I thought he would have played more than that.
Right, okay. Here's one for you, Ross. Fauzi Mazoudi. Is that how you Fauzi Mazoudi?
So let me think. So was he Turkish or something like that? And it would have been maybe Eddie May.
Yeah.
Eddie May it was the season we got relegated, I remember. I think it was anyway.
Yeah, I'm just checking what the big man is up to now. He's on Insta. He's on Insta. If it's the same boy, he's on the old Instagram. There you are. If it is, that's the boy. Yep, there you go. So yeah, he's still kicking. He's not kicking a ball anymore, I don't think. But I can't really even track him down there. Yeah, there he is. There's the bulge in there. Went on to play a couple of games in after us. Went to HFC Haarlem in Holland.
Oh, aye.
There you go. And he's now in a coaching kind of role, assistant. Looks like this is all in Dutch, so I can't even work out what he's doing now. So there you go. Well played, Rog. Here's one. Recently, you'll know this one. Big William Edginguele or Edginguele.
Oh, yeah. The Edge. The Edge, the centre half from. In terms of who signed him, though, now who was the manager after Hartley?
It was McKinnon.
Oh, of course, it was the Dundee United connection. So yeah, Ray McKinnon. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Big Edge. I like the Big Edge. Remember?
I thought he was good actually.
I actually wanted to keep him because I thought he came in obviously on loan from United, and I thought he played really well. Now playing for Bedworth United, though.
Is he?
The 35-year-old. He went from Falkirk to Wealdstone, and then Nuneaton Borough, Barwell, and now is playing for Bedworth United, where he's had 20 appearances this year.
Wealdstone, as in the you've got no fans, lad. Is that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Remember that wee skinny drunk guy? You got no fans.
Maybe it is.
Not that guy. I think
Patrice Tano comes in from Lewis. Patrice Tano. That was Yogi, was it? No.
No. Oh no, I don't think so. Patrice Tano. I would have thought Totten.
Was it Totten? Was it?
Was Patrice Tanner not like 2001 or something like that?
2002, yeah.
Aye, so was it 2001/2002?
Just 2002 I've got down here.
Oh, I think that was a Totten signing.
Was it really?
That wasn't a signing by what's his name? Jobby. That wasn't a signing by him. So I think that's Totten. I can't remember his position though, mate. No idea.
Yeah. Well, he was a striker, and he only had 6 games. Apparently, according to his Wikipedia, he was a striker. He only played 6 games for us, and we were his last professional club. So there you go.
Wow.
So okay, we'll do one more of these, and we'll save more for next week because I'm enjoying this game.
I know that's good actually.
Owen Tudor Jones.
Oh, who would have signed him? Was that a Hoosty?
I think it maybe was,
I think it was Hoosty. He was a midfielder.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Hoosty.
I think that was 2014, so it would have been Hoosty, wouldn't it?
Aye.
Yeah. Welsh player, only played 4 games for us. He had awful injury problems, didn't he, when he came to us from Hibs?
Yeah, no,
because I remember I was signing because I remember I was at Inverness, and I thought he went from Inverness to Hibs, and I thought he's a decent player. That boy, actually, he's got 7 caps for Wales. And
is he? That shocks me as well. Yeah,
I know. So you got 7 caps for Wales, and it just didn't happen for us. In fact, we were like his last professional club. And there he's 38. I think he had to retire probably because of injury. Then
he did come with a fairly brutal record. So that would have been the year that we made it to the cup final. Then
it would have been. Aye. He announced he had retired from playing. He gave up partway through the season on March 2015. Said he announced he had chosen.
There you go then. So
There you go. So we'll play more of this game. If you've got any more random Falkirk players that we can test Ross out on next week, please get them into us on the big question. There's some absolute belter of names I've got up my sleeve for next week, Ross. So we'll get your knowledge tested next week. And that is it for this week's big question.
This is Falkirk Daft.
Right, okay, onwards and upwards now. We are looking at Peterhead. We tried to get the guys on from the Blue Tune podcast who we spoke to on previous occasion. We've not been able to get them this time just for scheduling conflicts and what have you. But yeah, I mean, on paper, Ross, these are the ones that worry me though. Obviously, Peterhead having a terrible time about it. The last one they won was against Clyde in January. I mean, they have won all season 2 games. They've drawn 6, lost 18, minus 45, rooted to the bottom of the table on 12 points. But these are the games I worry about, and I don't know why.
I do. No, I worry about them as well. Is this not the team that actually beat Dunfermline?
Yep.
So
no, they drew against Dunfermline.
They drew with Dunfermline, right? Okay. So listen, they're scrapping for their life. It's tight down there. Let's face it, it is between them and Clyde. So they are going to be. They're fighting for a playoff, aren't they? So I'm going to adopt your mantra at any win will do. For Saturday, I just want to get the win, and then take whatever happens at East End Park, and then we've got Tuesday night. That's what I want to get to, but it will be tough because they are scrapping. So I think, and there'll probably be another 4,000 plus crowd in there. And unlike the last game, John, I'm going to say something. I thought the atmosphere at the last home game, it wasn't great. Yeah. And it was a tough old game, wasn't it? Like in terms of like the longer the game went on and stuff. So I think a wee early goal would settle the crowd down. And it would settle the team down probably as well. And I'd love a few goals, but anyone will do.
Absolutely. Davy Robertson's obviously went in since we last played them, and trying to get obviously imprinting his team. They've signed a lad from Scalloway. When I had to Google where Scalloway and what league they were in, he plays in Shetland. He scored a guy called John Allen who scored 23 goals in 14 appearances for his club in Shetland. So they brought him in because goals have been an issue for Peterhead. I mean, I think they've only scored all season 13 goals.
It's not a lot, is it? No.
It's it's conceded 58. So I mean, on paper it should be a walk in the park, and to the point that we're talking about maybe some changes and resting some players ahead of the big game on Tuesday. Mackay comes in maybe for Mackie, as we discussed. Max comes in for McGinn.
But that for me, Max coming in would certainly be a big thing. I'm not saying that Steve McGinn deserves to be dropped because he doesn't. But Airdrie targeted him on Saturday, and that's my worry because when he's put under pressure, when he's not got as much time in the ball, I think we do see him panic a little bit, and he's not got the speed to kind of retrieve the ball again. So I do wonder if maybe Max might come in. But then it's a hell of a game to not so much Saturday, but if you're looking at maybe starting Max against Dunfermline, that's a hell of a night as well, because there's probably going to be 7,000 or 8,000 at East End Park next Tuesday night, maybe more. So it's a hell of a game to throw him in.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens for the team. Okay, what score are you going for Saturday?
It is anyone will do, but I do think we'll score a few goals. So I'm going to say 3-0 Falkirk.
I'm going to go 4-0. Why not? Ooh. I'm going to go positive and just go 4-0. I think Peterhead are a terrible run of games. I mean, in saying that, they got a draw there at the weekend against Kelty.
They did.
But I just think we're far too strong, and we're a different team now. I don't think John McGlynn will let any mistakes happen. So I'll go for 4. A confident.
I like that, John. No,
I started off this going, fuck it. I started off saying, anyone will do. These are the games I worry about, and then I'm sitting coming. I'll be 4-0. I'm no bother at all. But let's go for 4-0 win and up the road against Peterhead this Saturday.
This is Falkirk Daft.
That is it for this week's Falkirk Daft. Long one this week, a lot to talk about between the AGM and obviously the game on Saturday, Roscoe. You are going to be down at the Speakers Night this Friday, aren't you?
Yes, so it's the Academy night on Friday. So Ian, who's just been our guest pundit, he'll be there as well. He won the tickets that the club have very kindly donated to Falkirk Daft. I know you're not able to make it, but there's myself and Ian and another 5 or 6 at the Falkirk Daft table. Apparently, we're right next to the Black Rooster table from Darvel. So
I wonder if the Bolger will show his face.
I don't know. Apparently, this was all booked before.
We spoke to Mick Kennedy. Obviously, he talked to us about being at the speakers' night and stuff like that. So, I'll be interested to see. Let us know if he pops up. Indeed.
Hopefully, a brilliant night for the club and the academy. Every bit of money is going to be going back into the academy, which is hopefully going to see us right for the next few years.
Yeah, and Ruffy's a good bit of chat as well. So I'm sure we've seen him at a couple of sportsmen there. So I'm sure it'll be a cracking night, and then hopefully a cracking win on Saturday as well at the stadium. Fingers crossed. Nice to be back there again. So thank you very much for listening, Folk Daft. Remember, if you want to sponsor the show, we've got some big shows obviously coming up. Huge week. I mean, next week is just ridiculous when you look at how momental and that. You know, it's just huge, just absolutely huge. Game against Dunfermline and then the cup game against Ayr as well. A lot to talk about on next week's show as well as the Peterhead game. So yeah, if you fancy sponsor the show, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us an email or drop us a DM on the socials, falkirkdaftpod@gmail.com. There's a wee slip for you.
Is that your Coventry model chat coming up there again, is it?
So please drop us that. We'd love to hear from your sponsorship. And honestly, if I read out your script read, I won't make any mistakes like that when I do it. Get us on Apple, Spotify, or you maybe watch us on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel if you can. You can get us on all the usual socials under Falkirk Daft, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And of course, we've got merch as well. We don't talk about the merch as much as we should, Ross.
That's true.
You can get Falkirk Daft merch. So if you want something different, we've got a whole range of hoodies, mugs, t-shirts, polo shirts, the full shebang.
Actually, John, you've just reminded me. Someone mentioned it at the game on Saturday, and I know we talked about this back in December, but we thought it's December. But someone asked about the bucket hats for the holiday.
The bucket hats are coming.
We need to add those. Do you know
what? I'll get the bucket hats. If people are asking for it, we will deliver. And you can check out all our merch. You can do that at shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/Falkirk-Daft. Shop.spreadshirt.co.uk/Falkirk-Daft. The link is below if you want to get some cool merch and look really cool at the game. Brilliant. Okay, onwards and upwards. Peterhead next, and then oh my god, that week is just still moving. I'm still undecided. I get this way. I still undecided when I'm going to East End Park or not.
John, you need to get yourself East End Park.
I just honestly, it fills me with fear and dread. I'm like that. I'll be pacing up and down, just checking it's hard that way when I'm pacing up and down, or just at the game. I don't know if I can handle it. I don't.
No, listen, get yourself at the game. Imagine being in the away end, 2,500 Bairns, last minute winner. Come on!
Right, oh my god, this is a week and a bit out. What's next week going to be like? Okay, brilliant. We'll say hello to Ross at the speakers night if you see him, and or we'll see you at the stadium on Saturday. Thanks very much for listening to Falkirk Daft, and until next time, Ross.
Expect unexpected, pal.
Beautiful.